Hello, hello, everyone. We are going to be live. Alrighty. I am excited to share this whole Powerpreneur show today. And let's see. I want to make sure we got this going. All right, guys, happy Tuesday. I hope everybody had a wonderful long weekend, and 4th of July was amazing for you. We have our co-host, Dr. McCoy, and this is Powerpreneur Signature Show. So without any further delay, let's get started.
Let's do it, Monty.
So what is this whole show about is what we're going to talk about. And then who are we? Let's introduce ourselves. And why are we doing this? And what's our why? Right? So
yeah,
I'm going to share a little bit about my story. I grew up in India in a small town, and I was very determined to help people live better since a younger age. And in the midst of that, my godfather, he got sick and he lost his kidney function. So he started going to dialysis, and I really wanted to understand like the body more and how these disease state happen. Like, how can we save anyone from basically getting this, or how can we help them when they have already gotten this? So that was my whole starting point into like learning more about medicine and health and wellness and body and all that. So I was always someone who was really into it because I would read all these nutrition facts and then I would tell my mom. So one time my mom must have made something deep fried. And then I went and told my mom, I was like, Mom, you should stop deep frying things. It creates lots of free radicals. I was like 9 years old. And my mom's like, who is this child who's like understanding all these things? And then she probably didn't even know what free radicals meant. But I just kind of started learning more and more. And I guess that's just who we are. Sometimes like we start young and our interest is very, very laser focused. So when my godfather became really terminally ill, I really wanted to do good for other people's loved ones. And I realized that I can do that through learning more about medicine. So I went into pharmacy because in my understanding, the way it was really promoted and marketed, medicine is basically pharmaceutical drugs. And I didn't know any better because you just don't know as a layman or as someone who's just starting out. So I started my undergrad in pharmaceutical sciences and I did the bachelor's in Maharashtra at one of the top universities. It's called Maharashtra Institute of Technology, Peace University. So that's where it all started for me. And then we had pharmacognosy for about 4 years there. So it really started kind of shifting gears in my head because I was like, okay, because the whole bachelor's in pharmaceutical sciences, it teaches you about pharmacognosy and then pharmacology and pharmaceutics. It was very intensive. And then all my rotations were in pharmaceutical industry, like manufacturing units. So I would like what we would do is we would screen about like a few thousand of molecules from plants. And then basically we would find a molecule that works on receptors in the human body. And then we would take that in the lab and produce synthetic molecules that's replica of that natural molecule, and then we patent it and mass produce it. So all that, I saw that in my undergrad. And I always kept wondering, I was like, why can't we just use the actual plant? Like, that was my question.
Yeah, that's a question I had coming up as well. But we later found out why that is, right?
Yeah, because when you're younger, you don't understand how money works. Like, it's more about, like, you're innocent and you're naive, right? So it's more about
Mm-hmm.
just like, okay, what's the best thing we can do, or how's the best way
Mm-hmm.
to do something to help someone.
Yeah.
It's not about manipulating it. And then honestly, I kind of thought about it, but then you don't feel that great when you're like a small peony in the whole market, where pretty much like you're just a student, you're like coming from a middle class family, and you're like, okay, this is what it is, I guess, and we just accept the fact and keep moving.
Right.
But it changed quickly. When I moved to US, I kind of realized what it meant. Like, everything started making sense. Like, the way we eat in India is different than the way we eat here. The way we work here is very, very like exhausting and draining. So we're more laid back in India, and we have definitely more values when it comes to having a family and a work-life balance. Maybe not anymore because the Western culture has taken over. But growing up, I definitely, in the 80s and the 90s, I had seen that. So basically what happened, I quickly applied for PharmD because my undergrad was phenomenally like accepted here from a good university. I had 3.99 GPA. And then very, very fast, my health declined from the stress of pharmacy school. And I had a block system. So it was 90% pass or fail. And that was stressful. So all that, along with lifestyle factors, just like after first year, it started hitting me. So in the second year, I became like really sick to the point where my stomach couldn't function at all. Like, I can't eat, I can't sleep, I can't do anything. And on top of that, I still had to be in school. That's very stressful. A lot of people would take sabbatical, but I didn't want to because I'm just so crazy driven. I'm like, I'll fix this, I'll figure it out. That's when my whole journey shifted. I was told that I pretty much need to be on PPIs for the rest of my life. I was like, that is crazy. I'm only
But
23
yeah,
years
that
old.
is crazy.
And then doctors would be like, okay, so you have PPIs, you have H2R antagonists, you have TOMs, and then you have options of finding out things through endoscopy and colonoscopy or surgery. I was like, wow, so there's nothing we can do to actually get my stomach back to a state where it was before. And they pretty much said no. And then, of course, you're in pharmacy school and you're always told that you built upon, you never go back on your diagnosis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I was like, okay, I'm not going to accept this. This is not my story. I'm ready to really rewrite it. So I started looking into lifestyle interventions, nutrition, a lot of changes that I can make in my diet. That was my main focus. That I was like, it has to be something that I'm eating. And the correlation was never really clear because the path that we've taken, we don't talk about nutritional lifestyle changes and diet interventions. So we know in the pharmacy school, like the first thing is always lifestyle interventions on the list,
Yes.
right?
Right.
So like
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with the first thing up there. And
And what does that mean, right?
that means that that is the first line of choice.
But that's all we got.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. So I started researching, started reading books, hired a few functional medicine doctors, and really in 6 months, I completely changed my whole diagnosis and I was back to feeling good. I was back to living a normal life. I was healthier again. So I was like, okay, everything I wanted to do was outside of this box that I'm sitting in right now, which is my classroom and all my rotations. So that's where it really clicked for me because growing up, I came from a Ayurvedic family, and my grandpa was a yoga instructor and an acupressurist. So I really had that knowledge because they were really well read, my grandma and grandpa. So my grandma was a math teacher in her era, which is she was probably born in the 20s. To become a math teacher in that phase of life of the world, it was almost impossible. So she really educated me well, and it all the funny part is it doesn't click until like something like this happens, and
Right.
that's where my why became stronger on how to combine the East with the West and how to really help people in a whole different manner, which is a holistic manner, right? Because at this point, we are proficient in a lot of things that is Western because we went to school for almost a decade. And then we further went and got education and certification. So that's my story. My why was it started with my godfather and it ended with myself. And now I've become this passionate doctor who understands the whole body. And of course, if you're on any drugs, that's also easy for me to help you with. And there's just so many different things that we can do. So that's my why. And I really wanted to be a unique practitioner who can position themselves to help people actually get better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be a disease manager. I want to be an agent of change. That's where,
Absolutely.
yeah. So that's my story. Of course, there's more to it, but I'm going to hand over the floor to you. And I would love for you to share what is your why and how you got to this point.
Sure, sure. Officially, my name is Dr. Brittany McCoy, but I prefer McCoy. So my origin story, basically, I grew up in rural North Carolina. Um, I'm the first person in my family to not only go to college, graduate, become the first doctor, and then also become an entrepreneur. So I have a history of trailblazing. But before we jump into that, um, you know, I grew up in rural North Carolina and I'm the oldest of six. My mom joined the military to make sure that she could provide, and that's what she did. She certainly provided, and I'm so blessed for her sacrifices to join the military, to go to war, to deploy. But with that came with a certain set of unique challenges that really instilled responsibility, discipline, hard work, all of those values within me, and I'm so absolutely thankful for those. But even with those sacrifices, there are, there's consequences and choices to every action. And so, we didn't grow up with a lot of money or just around wealthy people who have the finances to eat right and to do right and to go out and exercise and there's sidewalks so that you can go out for a jog. We grew up on ramen noodles and chicken and bologna and things that are cheap but not necessarily healthy. And so I remember like being a kid saying, like this is not how you're supposed to eat. Like all this sodium, what exactly is sodium? Yeah, sure, salt comes out of the ground, but is this that same type of sodium? I mean, bleached. That doesn't sound natural. So I already had this curiosity just kind of already ingrained within me as I ate, as I went along day to day. And so my mom would always say, in order to, you know, make something of yourself. You want to be like a doctor or a lawyer. And I was like, at that time, being a young kid, I was like, well, I couldn't be a lawyer because I couldn't see myself defending someone if they really committed a crime. Now I know that there's different types of lawyers, sure. But so then it was like doctors. Okay, there are different types of doctors. What doctor will allow me to still have a family, give me the flexibility, allow me to practice at the top of my license, and just all these cool things that you kind of hear about. And so it really just led me down the path of pharmacy. I did not straight up say I'm going to be a pharmacist. That's just where life took me, and I went with the punches and everything. And so I'm here, I am in pharmacy school, and I'm excited about being a doctor. And so as I'm going through the curriculum, it's like, okay, when am I going to get more education on nutrition? More education on what exactly are micronutrients, vitamins, and minerals, but what are their importance? I hear that they're cofactors, but what are they cofactors for? What do they help? What processes within my bodies allow them to do their job to help with basic physiological functions and metabolism and all these great things that they do in our bodies? When am I going to learn about that stuff? Because that is what I'm going to use to help motivate my patients and my clients to do better, to actually eat better. This about that apple a day keeps the doctor away. And I wanted to be able to say, this is what it is. And even though all those super important details may not be important to you, I still want to be able to explain that so that it helps to inspire you, to helps to motivate you to eat better. But I didn't get that. So,
So we
and
both ended up doing pharmacy, but we wanted to naturally do naturopathy.
you don't know what you don't know,
You
right?
don't know. I didn't
We
know either.
we are
I didn't
certainly
know either.
trailblazers, and there always has to be a first person to go down to actually pave the way for others, right? And so fortunately, and in some instances unfortunately, that's the job that we have when with our purpose here. And so it is bittersweet. We do have to blaze that trail. We do have to be guinea pigs. We do have to say, oh, I thought this was the way, but maybe let me incorporate this other way, this other path, this other challenge that I learned from something else to help pave a bigger, better way for somebody else. So that's something that we were tasked to do, Monsi. And I mean, I wouldn't trade it for the world, but at the time going through it, it was hard. There were times that we might have cried or just said, "Hey, why? What is it? What am I missing? What do I need to learn so that I can move forward with going through my purpose to get to where I want to get to?" Right. So with those unique experiences that we went through, that allowed us to be put in a position to become this powerpreneur, that we are now, and that we will continue to be and change and evolve here for the future. But yeah,
So
those
before you lose that thought there, what was it that you really did to end up in Costa Rica, and how it changed your entire PharmD program in your mind?
sure. So, you know, you realize we're all different, right? And so I realized, yeah, I'm a lot different than some of my peers. And some people did not take very well to that, unfortunately. And, there were some negative things that I had to deal with based off of somebody else's triggers and traumatic experiences, which I'm certainly grateful for now, but that was not the case when it happened. But I utilized those negative energies and those negative things to really motivate me and inspire me to show people what I'm talking about, what I mean, what we should more incorporate within our curriculums and our practices. And I used that energy and really transformed it into something positive. And I used that energy to inspire me to go apply for a scholarship, which I got to go study abroad in Costa Rica, which was doing a 5-week program at the University of Costa Rica, full Spanish immersion to study natural products. And so that really changed a lot for me to see just I work with oregano, thyme, and ginger, different things. And, just in that second, I was just translating it from Spanish to English because I learned it all in Spanish, right? But that gave me another motivation, really a sign that says, hey, you are on the right path. Just, really tap into the things that you want and step into your authentic self and really step into that so that you can utilize that with your purpose to transform and inspire others. And so I've been doing that ever since. And I'm so thankful that I had the power to not only listen here, but listen here and listen to my gut as well. And so, all these things that people may go through, you may consider them failures, you may consider them challenges, but they are, in fact, important lessons that you should actually listen to and heed those gaps to say, what was I supposed to learn from this situation? Other people didn't take to it, but what can I apply to my life to help change or influence their thoughts on this subject or what have you, right? So that's something
Absolutely.
that we've realized that we have a lot in common, that man, we were able to really take something and transmute it into something more of love and light, and to continue to inspire others. And that's one of the things that I absolutely adore about not only myself but you, Monsi.
Absolutely. I think we're both very similar in that manner that we always look for what's the lesson and what is the opportunity instead of the challenge. And
Hmm.
then we know that until you learn the lesson, the incident will
History.
repeat. So
Herstory.
we know that we have to get the lesson out of it and apply in order to
Hmm.
get rid of the whole challenge, right? So I think that's what we did. We pivoted, and this whole Costa Rica experience changed your life, and my own health changed my whole course of action with the career. Also, my school offered a rotation, and it was called alternative medicine. So I did that for 6 weeks, just
That's
like
cool.
you had your Costa Rica
Hmm.
rotation. So that was also great because I learned about Chinese medicine and herbs and how plant medicine can also be an agent of change. So some of the actually herbs that I use right now, the mushrooms, which is like the cordyceps and
Rishi.
reishi, or even tea green, that's the very potent form of antioxidants with the green tea. All of that I
Hmm.
learned about that, and then much more. Some really, really hard to pronounce roots and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was life changing. And then, of course, I came from like how you ate poorly when you were younger. I ate very healthy. We prepared 3 fresh meals every day.
Wow.
Lunch, breakfast, and dinner was never the same, and it was prepared within 2 hours of eating. So in
That's awesome.
India, in Ayurveda, we consider anything over 8 hours stale.
Wow. That's something that I'm about to start adapting right here, right now, right? You learn something new every day.
Yeah. So in Ayurvedic principles, the max that we would eat something is the next day. And
Hmm.
then because you don't want to throw it away. But we have enough domestic help in India. So before it gets stale, we actually give away a lot of food
Hmm.
to them. So we kind of feed a lot of families there too. So it's amazing how we are kind of trained in a different way, but at the like I came from the east, you came from the west.
So, but now I have a question. So, and this was something I always like wondered, why is there not apple trees and orange trees like for anybody to just pick, and when they're walking by, are there like a lot of like, fruit and vegetable plants where you could just go pick a mango or a coconut like on the side of the street or in
Yeah, I
town or
got busted so many times stealing mangoes from neighbors trees. So we would just climb trees and get a lot of fruits and vegetables. So India is really like got a lot of like fruits and vegetables growing all the time. A lot of people have like backyards full of them, and Yeah, we actually do. And then coconut is like not like one coconut is not even like, I think it's 25 cents or less. So then the vendors are all over. So you just
Hmm.
literally drink, like it gets hot, then you stop by, you drink it, and then you go to another place, then there's someone squeezing like a fresh orange juice,
Hmm.
or someone's preparing like a fresh meal. Like we have Indian fast food too, of course. Um,
Hmm.
so I did eat all of that, but like when in India, when you have a very holistic family, like you have homemade food all the time ready. So you
Wow.
don't eat out that much. We don't even, okay, this will blow your mind. We didn't even have grocery stores. I didn't have grocery stores growing up. We just go to the market. Like how
Like a
we have
farmer's
farmers
market.
market.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more rudimentary there, where it's kind of dirty and not so fancied up and not so
Hmm.
expensive. You actually go and bargain. So like I would go with my grandma. So that's why I'm a really good negotiator. Cause
Wow.
she would teach me how to like negotiate in the marketplaces. So till I think I was like 16, that was the first time I saw a grocery store. And I was blown away. I was like, wow, why is there so much packaged food here? So by the time I must have grown up, like this whole grocery store concept must have come to India, because when I was 16, 17, we got McDonald's and we got grocery stores and big malls started coming up. So I was like blown away, but I didn't grow up that way. I didn't grow up that way. So for me, okay, I come from a family where even ketchup is made from scratch.
Actual tomatoes and
Actually,
not all the extra
tomatoes and
preservatives, additives,
no
chemical
preserve.
stuff
No, we finish
that.
our ketchup in 2 weeks, and every 2 weeks we make a new one. And then in India, we have this whole system of chutneys. We have a lot of chutneys for different meals and different recipes. It's like sauces, like how you have it in
Hmm.
Spanish culture and Mexican culture. So we make those fresh too, like weekly. So it's like very, very like,
You want to know something? The ketchup on some of our listeners in their pantries, their ketchup probably was made 2 years ago.
well, that's what I'm saying, that longer the shelf life of a
Yeah.
product,
Look,
less the shelf life,
some
less
of some
life
of
of you.
most of us have no idea. I just learned this stuff, just kind of doing my whole nutrition journey. I've learned this stuff on my own. But again, you don't know what you don't know. I was eating all that stuff with no problem. I mean, it's there. My parents paid for it as a kid or whatever, or I paid for it as an adult. I mean, it is what it is, but who takes the time to really research the nutrition labels and where did this come from? It says made in
And
China.
then
Did it
we
really, was it
pride,
really made in China?
yeah, and we pride to be in the most amazing superpower country. So we think that everything that's available here is actually good for
That's not the case,
you.
unfortunately.
No, that's not the case. I got very sick when I came and started drinking milk here, because I'm so used to. So we have farmers that come home to drop
Yeah.
off the milk. Like we get those glass bottles of
Glass.
milk.
Hmm.
So they come and drop off like 4 bottles, and then you give them the all 4 bottles, and they like we just kind of keep exchanging. And then sometimes they don't even have bottles; they just bring it in like a big canister, and then just
Hmm.
give it to you in your vessel in the house. So
Wow.
yeah, so you just kind of, they have a measurement, and they're like 1 liter, 2 liter, like that. So, and then we also have a deal with them that whenever there is a birth, cow
Hmm.
birth, calf birth, so the first milk that comes out has colostrum in it.
Right.
So we have a deal with them to bring that colostrum milk, and it's of course a little bit more pricier than the
Hmm.
regular, but they bring those too. So usually whenever that happens, we get our colostrum supplement.
So now I want to go down a little rabbit hole with a personal story here. So earlier you talked about like your negotiation skills. I've been to 7 countries. I started to learn about negotiation when I went to uh, Guatemala, and so that's where I started to learn to barter and do all that stuff. I mean, wow, that has translated into my entrepreneurial career so well now, and I'm so thankful
Yeah.
for that experience. But to jump on the food and the food, you're talking about milk, but when I was in Costa Rica, every day for breakfast I ate eggs and black beans. Now I kid you not, I've never been a fan of eggs and beans like that, but when I went to Guatemala, those were the best eggs and beans I've ever tasted in my life, because they were
Wow.
fresh. It was natural. They weren't shot up with a bunch of antibiotics and growth hormones and pesticides. And
Pesticides and
oh my God.
glyphosate and
I
Roundup.
know I know this sounds like really, but really, like
It's
I
same thing happened with me. Of course, I grew up in India, so the food was so good there. Then suddenly everything was different here. Like it didn't have the taste in it. Like the nutrition felt different. Then every time I go to Mexico now, it feels so good. Like I was just in Guadalajara two
right?
weeks
I'll be
ago,
going
and
soon.
yeah, you'll be going soon with me. And I was like, wow, I can just live here. I can really live here. It was
Wow.
so good. The food, like I got this really amazing plate of salmon and then some veggies, and it was like $11 for a fresh salmon that was so good.
Wow, fresh salmon. That's a whole other rabbit hole we're not going to dive into today. However, just doing my research, man, wow. We have no idea what we're putting in our bodies. And that is so insane.
Yeah, so this is our why, and this is why we became who we are. We are entrepreneurs, we are practitioners of a whole different level where we have done so much research on our own and through other credentials, and then we're traditionally trained in Western medicine. So when we talk something, it's not out of ignorance. At least that's what I can promise.
Yeah. So here with the Powerpreneur signature show, we talk about a number of different things. We talk about education, things that are going to help you with education, motivation, inspiration, and even transformation. We think that personal and professional development is something that is not highly regarded as it should be. And we just wanted to offer a platform to essentially help you guys on your entrepreneurial journey. And we will be bringing in different guests. We have a wonderful guest coming in 2 weeks here. We offer this show 2 times a month, and we're certainly looking forward to just helping you guys grow and transform within your entrepreneurial endeavors. Right, Monsi?
Absolutely. That's what Powerpreneur is all about. It's a unique platform where we're going to bring out the best of the stories of unique entrepreneurship and the journey that they have been through, and how this can inspire others, how this can really transform your thinking to ignite that fire if it's diminished, right? Because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that's what human beings can do, is ignite someone else's fire. Like when we
Absolutely.
met, you saw a whole different path that could be really like carved, right? And then we, like, I must have learned from someone else. So it's just that's how we teach each other and empower. So this show is for our people, for our audience. If you're a listener, this show is for you and only you. And this is all about how we can bring the biggest of the transformation in your life.
I'm so thankful for just my ability to go out and utilize the adventurous spirit within me to go and learn, to grow, to go share with others. And so now we've created a platform to actually do that on a larger scale. So this is the Powerpreneur signature show. I am Monsi. I mean, excuse me, I am McCoy, and that's Monsi. And together
We're confused sometimes. Who's Booker? Who's
we're
Monsi?
together all the time. That dude, like, so the funny thing about that mess up, I always say she's the Indian version of me, my twin. Literally, we have so much in common. We're both
We are. We're
Sagittarius.
like soul
Yeah,
sisters, and we had to meet in some other way. But I'm thankful to this amazing platform, LinkedIn, for getting us
yeah,
together.
yep. And we will always be together. I'm just so honored to have my soul sister here with me. So with that,
Likewise, likewise.
yep,
It feels
with that,
great.
guys,
And
go out and
hey,
have a
we
powerful week.
are other people's soul sisters out there, and
Hmm.
they just don't know yet, or they're about to listen to this. So if you feel aligned to our mission, and if you feel that this is something that can really help someone you know, so please share. This show is all about you, and just you. All right, with that, let's give an end to our first episode of, introducing ourselves. And we have an exciting guest next in the next 2 weeks that we're doing the show again. So stay tuned, and we will have our dates out there. So sign up for it,
Hmm.
and you will learn a lot from amazing people out there that we're going to bring here as guests. So until next time, namaste and take care, everyone.